want to talk about first and foremost is our rear naked choke, classic rear naked, okay? So I'm going to do this from a seated position just so you can see where I want to go, and then we'll talk about it falling to the side. I can do this from the positive or negative side, okay, this option. So you can work on it on both and troubleshoot it. I really like, and I talked about this last week too, as we talk about control of the upper body and really cinching in the elbows, what I'm going to talk about with closing the circle, John Danaher talks a lot about that stuff. So if you ever watch his like back attack or back control tutorials, he's great. He calls it the strangle, but really specific to kind of those details, right? Of course, this person's going to have a lot of different defenses. We're going to talk about back defense next week, but I do like to get in the habit of coming in, right, and grabbing this bottom arm. I'll grab the wrist and fat of the palm and shove it down so they can't come in to defend, right? So I do that, especially when I'm falling to a side. I try and program that right away so that I can just sneak my arm in, okay? But I really want to focus on these details first. So we're here, I've got my control. I'm gonna bring my arm all the way around. We're trying to create a circle. So I could bring my forearm into the throat, right? That's gonna be a little more cranky, and sure, a tap's a tap, but that's probably not gonna be the most comfortable and clean choke. So I really want to try and get my forearm and bicep on either side of his neck, okay? So think about bringing your elbow to the center of his chest. That's how deep I wanna get with the arm. So the arm comes underneath, I grab his shoulder or back, right? Not mine, because that creates space. And then I'm bringing my chin on my wrist. That closes the circle. We don't want space, okay? So I'm here, I close the circle, my head's connected to his head, then I pull this arm out, and I don't just bring this arm here where he can pull this down, and get an arm lock. I come behind. So the back of my hand paints his back. I lead with my elbow. I've kept my head close the whole time. My elbow comes over the shoulder. I grab my bicep. I grab my shoulder. I puff my chest, compress my elbows, and go for the tap. Okay? So we're gonna do that on the side. I just wanted you to see it from a seated position, which is where I'm probably not gonna really hit it from. How you doing there, Jonathan? Okay. Last night I was talking a little too much and almost put it out. So we're here, we fall, right? Boom, grab this, get into my position. I've got to use active hooks, guys. No matter if I stay with my hooks, I go to the half back, I go to a body triangle, whatever I feel comfortable with. And remember, if they're kind of tucking their chin, right? So he's cinching up his shoulders, which is a better defense than just relying on your chin. You don't want your jaw to get broken, right? But he's staying like a ball to defend. What I can do to help make him more exposed and vulnerable, right, is to use my hips, thrust my hips forward, I've got my hooks, and I can do a back extension to stretch him back. That allows me space to get in, right? I can even come in, I can like grab his forehead and make space there. There's some nasty things you can do, but the idea of making your choke more successful by extending and stretching them out is huge, okay? So we're here, I've got in my choke, I've closed the circle. I come behind, get my grip, I'm on my shoulder. I puff the chest, compress the elbows, and thrust my hips forward for that extension, okay? Does that make sense, guys? So the rear naked is nice and strong. We're gonna look at a single arm choke also if we can't get that second arm in, but it's super ideal because it is really strong and hard for them to get out of when you have the control of both arms, okay? So one last time. We're here, boom, trying to strip that grip, come back, get in my control, puff the chest, bringing the elbows together. I'm attaching my elbows to his chest. And like I said, you can also do this on the negative side. It's a little clunky trying to pull that arm out, right? So if I can, when I get into my position, I might pull the arm out before, right? And then there we are. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? Let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna look at the one arm choke. Same thing. I need to close the circle, right? It doesn't change much. So I'm here, I'm showing it from here so you guys can see the details, but I'm gonna finish this typically from the side, right? So I'm coming in, I can get this grip right, defend, closing the circle. Here we are, I'm connected to his head, right? And when we're doing the rear naked too, something else before I move on. When we get here, I'm puffing the chest, right? To help with that pressure or thrusting the hips forward, but I'm pinning the elbows to his chest and compressing them. I'm bringing them together. That'll help with the finish, right? Along with the puff. So same kind of idea. I'm here, I close the circle. My elbow is pinching and attached to his chest, right? Now I'm gonna puff my chest. I'm gonna draw my elbow back. I'll give him a second to breathe. I'm gonna draw my elbow back, but I stay connected, okay? I'm not doing this. See, my hand does not disconnect. I stay closed in the circle. I'm also gonna start looking at his ear. So my head stays connected. It's really funky. I look at his ear, just like when Jay's talking about like getting into the collar tie and you're like using your forehead to like drive into their temple. Same kind of idea, right? I'm staying connected. I'm not detaching, okay? And I'm not using like my strength for a like super strong bicep curl. That tension is gonna make me tired, right? I wanna like let my arm relax and melt in. And that compression and everything I do is really gonna make it tight. Okay, if somebody's got a really strong neck at the end, sure, you can throw a little muscle into it, but that's not what it's about. So we're here, I'm connected, I puff, I draw back, just like that, okay? Slightly brought the elbow back while staying connected, started looking towards his head, and I puffed my chest. So for here, when I start falling, close my circle, thrust my hips, boom. Okay, super fast. It's really tight. That's what I almost made Jay go out in last night while I was talking too much. So here we go. I'm using active hooks here, puff, boom, single arm choke. It's a beautiful thing. So from the negative side, right, same kind of idea. We're here, but especially if someone pinches my arm, like, and I can't pull it back, right? I'm gonna compress, super, super tight.
So it's almost easier from the negative side.
Yes. Especially if you can't get that arm out or you've fallen on your arm funny, right? And it's hard to pull that, or that's kind of the defense of the person to keep that arm pinched. So you can't get that second arm in for the rear naked. Okay, but all those things, like you don't wanna keep them curled up like a ball to defend. I've got to stretch them out, puff my chest, tilt the elbow, and I'm looking in that direction. Okay? Okay, we're done with chokes, guys, for now. For now. Oh, you want more chokes?
Wow.
We're gonna look at this is particular to the negative side. It's a negative side option, but we're gonna look at an arm bar, okay? So I've got my back control, and we start falling right to the negative side. Maybe I opt to go there, maybe we're on the positive and he shifts me to that side. So as we get here, I like to get this figure 4 grip right away. So I'm grabbing his wrist, and then I'm grabbing my wrist with the underhook side. That's grabbing my wrist, I'm grabbing his wrist, right? And I can just kind of punch this down for the meantime, right, so he can't really defend. So this is gonna be similar to the motion that we did last week when we were finishing the double lapel choke on the negative side. So my foot comes to his hip, okay? And then I'm gonna push him down into the hole as I bring my calf across his hips, okay? So I've really trying to been instilling the fact you guys have to keep your head close until you don't want to anymore, right? So this is on my terms, okay? I'm making this space. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this forearm around to the other side of his head, even if I need to ratchet it in. I've got the figure 4 and I've got this frame now, okay? I don't wanna lose my elbow, I'm not coming here, right? It's just my forearm. I've got a nice 90-degree bend in my forearm. So pushing him into the hole means he's kind of like down towards my hips now. So what I'm gonna do here is this leg across the hips, right? You see it right here, right? And this forearm are gonna knock him down to his back. It's gonna make this leg light. So as I use the frame and leg to shift him towards his back, I'm gonna bring this leg in front of his head. So I tilt him and come up. Just like that, okay? It's kind of slow-mo so you can see that, but this leg comes right on top. I end up in this seated position and we're in an arm bar, right? So there's a lot of different things that can happen here, a ton of grip breaks. I don't want to go over all of them. There's so many options, right? But first and foremost, I need to be heavy with this thigh to knock him down, right? Because let's back this up for a sec. As we're here and I start knocking him down, he's gonna wanna keep his head up, right? I'm gonna come in and boom, nice and heavy, clobber him down, okay? I wanna pinch my knees, I'll cinch my heels in. A couple options, I can collect all the elbows and bring them close to me and start falling back, right? Reaching for that wrist, thumb towards the ceiling. I can fall into it. I'm gonna get a tap pretty quick, right? If I fall to the mat and he still hasn't tapped, then I can start bringing my hips up. Something I like to utilize is my wrist. So the same hand that's head side is gonna come wrist to wrist. You don't wanna try and break here. I'm not gonna break the grip on the inside of his elbow. That's a strong point, right? So I wanna bring wrist to wrist and I'm gonna fall very confidently towards the head side, lots of pressure with my leg on his head so he can't run out. Boom. It's creating an angle. Someone might tap right there, or I can straighten up and finish from that position. You've got to be careful when you fall head side. If you don't have enough pressure with your leg, they could do the hitchhiker escape, okay? So in turn, I can fall to the other side, especially if his leg's up or both of his legs, are like this. Same hand that was head side can come into the wrist. It's the blade of my wrist to his wrist. And I'm gonna fall, grabbing his leg. Now, I can't do this slow. He's never gonna let me have this grip. So I've gotta be confident. I'm gonna fall and grip. If I hug his leg, he can't run out. I don't move here. I grab my shoulder. His wrist is in the crook of my elbow. All I need to do here is pinch and thrust. It's right there. This creates a beautiful 45-degree angle, which I think is a better angle for the arm bar. It's super tight. So just be cautious, because when you do fall, you need to fall kind of aggressively or confidently, we'll say, to get this grip. But your partner might tap as soon as you get that angle, because it's pretty tight, okay? There's lots of different things you can come around. So this side, boom and pull, right? Lots of different grip breaks, but you can experiment with that. Sorry, I just clobbered you on the head even more, Jonathan. It's the perks of having your hubby as your training partner. Okay, so we're here, right? I start falling for me. Boom, here we are. I'm gonna push him down, right? This foot comes up, push him in the hole, and bring this leg across the hips. I don't want him to start escaping, so if I keep my foot like just in the hook position, he can clear that a little bit easier, but if I'm coming across, it's harder for him to escape. Now, I'm gonna bring this forearm, ratchet it right in the front. I'm gonna tilt him. See, I started doing that right away. Tilt him to his back, come over and sit up. Can fall. I really like falling to the side. Boom. Here. If he comes up, see how he kind of hopped up? Yep, boom. You use your legs. Pinch. There it is. Always got to pinch the knees. I can collect the limbs. All right, and go right into the arm bar.